Happy Tuesday. We have made it this far this week. All right, so let's see if anybody beats Jacob tonight, and we'll start from there. do, Jacob 5x5. There we go. And I get my screen, and okay, so we're all good. Hello, everybody. Good to see y'all. So, or however you want to put good to see your names on the screen, I guess. Interesting week so far, huh? Obviously everything going on in Afghanistan, kind of crazy crap there. And, of course, the latest debacle in the 7.5 months that it's been, or 7 months that it's been since Potato has been in office. So, congratulations, Joe. So far, your legacy is record numbers of people coming across the southern border, your own Saigon moment in Afghanistan, inflation going through the roof, COVID numbers going up, and we're begging for oil at the same point. So hey, so what have you done? You've wrapped up Jimmy Carter and Barack Obama all in one to see if you can be the biggest failure in my life. But no, in all serious, if you guys have caught any of the videos, the movies, the news broadcasts or anything like that on what's going on in Afghanistan, I mean, it's just heartbreaking to see what's going on there. I mean, video of a guy literally falling out of an airplane as he was trying to hang on, finding a body in the wheel well of one of the C-117s going off. I mean, if that, I look at it this way, you have all these leftists, to take a Megan Rapinoe or pick somebody in Hollywood or, everybody in BLM. Brenda, thank you for the super chat. Screaming and yelling, going how oppressed they are. Let me ask any one of them, are you so oppressed that your best choice in life would be to try to climb into the wheel well of a military jet to get out of the United States? Shut up, okay? You aren't depressed. As screwed up as the United States is, the poor people here still live better than 99% of the people in the rest of the world. So I'm about fed up with hearing these people that are oppressed. There's another good one. This one came to me as an email here from Jim, maybe an hour before the live stream. And I thought this was a perfect comment. And he just said, after everything that's happened in Afghanistan and us leaving all these weapons systems and everything over there, the last thing I want to hear from Joe is anything about gun control. When you are literally arming a terrorist organization, shut up about American people that want to protect themselves, okay? I mean, and if there's any politician that thinks like that, I would hammer that home in a heartbeat anytime somebody says, we got to take away your Second Amendment rights. So, fortunately, like I said in this morning's video, more states are waking up and saying, screw it, we're going to constitutional carry, to hell with what, mashed potato here has to say. So those are a couple things. Inflation, as much as Janet Yellen wants to say, it's transitory and all this sort of crap. All right. The government doesn't raise the amount of food stamps that people are getting by 25% unless they don't see any end in sight for food prices staying high, okay? And the thing is, y'all know, on some of the stuff that we buy, 25% was 3 months ago, okay? We're past that by now. So, here it is again, for those people that are collecting food stamps because, hey, their company closed or, whatever other idiocy happened because of the stupid decisions coming out of Washington. And, now they're forced to live off of food stamps. This is how bad he's screwing things up. And the scariest part, and you guys say this all the time, and I agree too, if they 25th Amendment him out, that means we get the crack whore in there, okay? And if they get rid of both of them, gee, then we get the alcoholic next. So, we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. And, it's going to be a long ride, guys. I mean, to think about this, we got 3.5 more years of these guys in power. If they can screw this much up in a half a year, imagine how much damage they can do in a full term. Short soliloquy tonight, but those are just some things I wanted to bring up and kind of get into the nuts and bolts, because I saw somebody say it's nice to get away from the news and just have some fun in here for a time being. And so I kind of wanted to get that out, get it over with, and okay, we can talk about more informational, educational, conversational type stuff rather than politics. God. So, all right. So greetings to my illustrious crew here, the moderators that we have, Lucky Dame, Robert, Jacob, and North Shore. Appreciate you guys all coming back for another day of police duty. So just to let all the trolls out there know, I got the best in the business in here for getting rid of the BS. If you came here to troll, you might as well leave now, because you're going to get one comment in that'll last about 10 seconds and it'll be gone and nobody will see it and you'll never be back. So that all works well, because these guys are really good at their job. That being said, guys, I will ask this, okay? Y'all know there's no topics that are off limits when we talk, as long as we keep it clean, okay? That's the thing. No arguing, no name calling, no nothing. We try to keep this as a family-friendly show, all right? At least all of us talking amongst each other. I try to answer as many questions as I can. Please understand, I know that I don't know everything, okay? I'm not going to even pretend that I do. If I don't know, I'm going to say it, but still ask the question in there, because there's plenty of people in here who may have an answer, and God knows I make mistakes and things, especially if you saw me do the canning the other day when I only did it for 75 minutes and had to redo the whole thing all over again. So trust me, I'm never going to claim to walk on water. But if you're going to make a question for me, put it in all caps, but please, guys, phrase it in the form of a question or whatever. Don't just make a statement, because remember, how you think you wrote something and how somebody else reads it, tone can be misinterpreted. So, if it's a question, it's pretty obvious that it's a question. But if it's just a statement, sometimes you don't know what it is or whatever. So if it's a question directed to me, put it in all caps. If it's not directed to me, please keep that stuff in lower caps. That way we don't have any problems. Okay. Just don't want any misunderstandings between people on what's going on in here. Okay. So like I said, nothing's off limits. Keep it PG-13. How I do this, for those of you guys that are new, I start at the top. I go down. I answer as many questions as I possibly can. There's 780 of you guys in here right now, and there's one of me, so I'm outnumbered. So I go as quick as I can. Some answers are real fast. Some take a little bit more time to explain. If I don't get to your question in 5 or 10 minutes, feel free to ask it again. If I see it a second time, I'll skip over it. No big deal. Understand, though, that the chat window that I've got in my laptop below me here will zoom me all the way to the bottom sometimes, and when I go back to the top, it doesn't let me all the time go as far back as I was. So there are some times where your question just kind of winds up disappearing on me. If you don't hear me answer it, feel free to ask it again. If I don't, if it's something that's very important or whatever and I don't get to it, feel free to email me. My email address is in the description below every video I put out. So you guys have always got that in there. All right. So that being said, let's see if I can get to the top here. And there's all the good evenings. And so we'll start with some Q&A. So let's see where we got here. Amy Peacock, they knew. That's why they went on vacation. Yeah. I mean, I can't say they knew that it was going to be this much of a debacle, but they knew it was completely screwed up Flintstone Girl, thank you very much for the super chat. I will check out your question here in just a second. But yeah, they knew that things were a mess. Why Joe left, I have no idea. And then the arrogance to come down to the White House from Camp David, make a speech where he literally lied to the American public for 20 minutes, and then, okay, I'm done. Back on vacation I go. You're the freaking president of the United States, and this is a foreign policy disaster. Okay? Please take your job seriously. Some of us think it's important. So, yeah, that was a mess. Flintstone Girl. Ooh, this is a tough one. Should my son take a dishonorable discharge from boot camp to avoid the jab? I'm against it 1,000%. He's torn about what to do because he likes it. I don't want to lead him wrong. Oof. I did a video on this the other day, and I had talked about whether it's going to be a general discharge, less than honorable conditions. A dishonorable discharge will stick with him for the rest of his life, okay? It's going to make it very, very difficult for him to find employment for the rest of his life. And there's a lot of things that he will not be eligible for with the dishonorable on his record. That's an impossible question for me to answer for somebody else. All I can say is this: I hope that there are some cooler heads that prevail after everything that just happened here and say, no, Austin's wrong. We're not going to be doing this mandatory jab. There was a fake video that was going around yesterday, day before, about one of the Marine Corps generals saying it wasn't going to happen. That was a fake video. So if anybody's seen that one's been completely debunked. But my heart breaks to hear about that, because talk about being between a rock and a hard place. I can't give you an answer. I'm sorry. I'll say this: if it was me, I'd take my chances. Because the dishonorable discharge is a guarantee of ruining the rest of your life. The jab is 50-50. That's the best I got for you. I apologize. I can't give you a better answer than that. That is a tough question. I'm sorry. Well, that'll bring you down real quick. All right, yeah. Especially, I cannot believe the military is doing that. In some respects, I understand why, but in other respects, I'm like, who the hell is the idiot making that decision? But then again, we know who that is. Cat Polisi, Pinball, do you think 130,000 or 140,000 is too high for property for acres and a house? Depends on where, okay? Depends on how many. There's a lot of ifs in that one. How big the house is, how many acres you have, what you can do on the acreage, where is it? Is it a 2-bedroom house and you've got 5 kids? Is it a 5-bedroom house and you have 2 kids? But I'm going to take a guess at that price, 130, 140. My guess is it's probably a manufactured home, probably 2 bedrooms with maybe a couple acres. And even then, that's still a really good price. Okay. Because even around me, and Tennessee property is some of the cheapest in the country, even around me, it would be probably 2 bills to get a couple acres and a house. That was what I paid. So, let's see. David Williams, pinball. After the government runs its course with the Delta variant, then the Lambda from South America that the mainstream media is not talking about. Is there more to it? After the government runs its course with the Delta variant, then it's the Lambda variant from South America that the mainstream media is not talking about. Question mark. There's got to be more to the question. Sorry. Throw it in there again because I'm not understanding what you're asking. Jay Helms, do I have any info about Ohio going to constitutional carry? No, I do not. I have not heard that they are thinking about it or anything like that. And with DeWine as your governor, I really don't see him, being all too enthusiastic about pushing it through. Rhino that he is. Okay. Off the wall prepper, Republican senator just asked for the 25th 2 minutes ago. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk here in the last couple of days about representatives, senators, and things like that saying we need to invoke the 25th on him. He needs to resign, et cetera, et cetera. The funny part is, until we hear some Democrats start saying it, it ain't going anywhere, okay? Because we know who runs both houses of Congress. If Pelosi or Schumer comes out and says it, then you start taking this seriously, okay? But yeah, there's been some interesting talk. What I find very interesting is, have you guys noticed that the mainstream media is all of a sudden bailing on Joe? Everybody's favorite moron on NBC, Chuck Todd, was calling this an embarrassment, that Biden had completely screwed everything up. If he loses the media, it's over for him, okay? Because, he'll never lose CNN because, CNN was out there yesterday saying, oh, the Taliban look like a bunch of nice guys as they're back there screaming death to America, literally. But, you start losing the network news or MSNBC or something like that, you start losing some of those talking heads, and, he's done. He's toast at that point. Wild West, pinball, 3 biggest subs headed to China now. Yeah, this came out just, maybe an hour or so before we went on tonight. China is starting to do a little bit of saber rattling around Taiwan. Okay, they were flying some planes in there again today, starting to move troops around, again, and all the PR, if you will, the propaganda machine is on full blast. The Chinese telling the Taiwan, hey, look, the Americans just bailed on the Afghans. If a war starts, you can pretty much guarantee the Americans are going to bail on you too. Okay. Guys, Biden just painted the United States with a huge yellow stripe. Okay. Cowards of the county here is what, Biden in one fell swoop made the United States the biggest superpower in the world, the biggest laughing stock in the world. Okay. This is his legacy. It's going to be interesting to see how the hell we get out of this one. Greg McDonald, I think the 25th would cover all 3 of those. Yeah, it's like I could just see it. Okay, we want to get rid of this one, then this one, then this one. I don't even know who the hell's 4th in line. Yeah, don't have all the answers, sorry. Let's see. Oops, and shot me to the bottom, so bear with me here a second. Oop. P31 Mama, thank you for the super chat. And you make a comment, can't you still get out of the military if you haven't graduated boot camp? No, once you sign that paperwork, you're in. That's it. So yeah, the Army's not something you can quit. All right, let's see. But like I said earlier, that's the first I've heard about a dishonorable discharge. I figured if anything, they would make it as a general. Sample MM, are there people you can hire to put a hand pump on a wet water well? I have 10 horses to water. Yeah, call the drilling company. obviously the drilling company around here with me is not going to be the same one for you, but yeah, I mean, call the company who drilled your well. They should be able to do it. Usually, if you don't know who it is, if it's an old property, where look on the cap of the well, and it's usually a piece of iron or steel or whatever that's stamped with their name, and then you can go look it up, which is always an advantage because then they know how deep the well is. Hector Prepper, just got a dehydrator can. You use an oxygen absorber and a moisture absorber in the same quart jar. You shouldn't need it. You shouldn't need either one of them because, well, okay, no, okay, I'm trying to figure out what if you're talking about dehydrating something and then putting it in a jar, I'm assuming you're going to use one of the little vacuum seal deals. That's going to suck all the air out. So you shouldn't have any problem with that. The moisture absorber, that would make sense. But the O2 absorber, you shouldn't need if I'm thinking what you're explaining. Robert A., do I believe Potato Head's a puppet? Absolutely. I mean, he doesn't know what's going on. If he doesn't have cue cards in front of him, Joe would sit there and be reading one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. Lori, how long have I been out of Boston? My accent isn't very strong. I lived in New Hampshire in 2010, 2011, and then in Boston from 2011 to 2013. I'm not originally from Boston, so I never had a Boston accent. I'm originally from Chicago, so that's where my accent comes from. Obviously, little things get tweaked. You pick up certain deals. I mean, I don't have the nasally sausage comment, Chicago accent anymore, but it's still sausage to me. But yeah, some of it changes over time, but no, I never had a Boston accent. Anonymous Backwoods, take the discharge. Oof. Okay. Lori Seltzer, service members can apply for an exemption from JAB for religious reasons. Yes, they can. Okay. I don't know, again, what it's going to take to prove it. My guess is at a minimum, you're going to need some sort of letter from your pastor, priest, whatever it is, saying it is. And there aren't a whole lot of religions that are going to, that are against it. So, unless you can prove these uber vegans or something like that who can't even use something if it's been tested on animals. But, I've seen stories that one's not going to work this time. I know people have said Jehovah's Witnesses. Like I said, I can't give an answer for them. That is such a personal question, but, the dishonorable, I know we keep coming back to that, but the dishonorable discharge sticks with you for life. Leo White, dishonorable and basic is probably just a threat. You know how basic is. It could be. But it's not like you can change your mind. Once they start processing that paperwork, you're done. If you call their bluff and that's what they give you and it says dishonorable on it, you can't go, oh, never mind, I'll go back. They're like, screw you, you're done. That's playing Russian roulette there. Texas Janet Garden Prep, can her son try for a medical? That you could always try that. There's a lot of things you can try. What's going to be successful, I don't know. And obviously you've got a month before it's going to be mandatory. Southern Prepper 1 put out a video to help the military. Okay, if he's got something on there that's worthwhile, go for it. Just make sure you verify it, that it's not a bunch of hype, because I know there's a lot of stuff out there. Like I said, there was that video yesterday that was making the rounds of, General Massey saying, not my Marines are, and the video was complete fraud. Okay. Or it wasn't a video, it was a supposed tweet, so. David, if you want to know, don't ask Joe. There you go. That's the truth. Melissa Hammersley, how did I meet Mrs. Pinball? We've gone over this a few times, but I'm guessing you're new. Actually met Mrs. P online, what, almost 6 years ago now? When did we meet? 2014, so almost 7 years ago now. Met online, talked for about 6 months every day. Then I flew out to Moscow and I was out there for a week and a half. And then we got her visa to come here. And within 90-day fiance, after she got here, we got married. But yeah, we met online. Brenda Valentine Bates, Fort Jackson denied family into Fort Jackson graduation without proof of vaccine. Claim religious reasons for not taking. Okay. Yeah, I can't think that's a South Carolina law. So it's got to be. Yeah. I see again. I can't tell you what specifically is going to be a reason why a base can prohibit people to come in. I mean, there's no federal law right now that prohibits somebody from going onto a military base for a graduation or anything like that. You know, it says that the federal employees, you know, Biden put out that EO, but that doesn't say that you can't go on a military base. And I mean, a graduation ceremony is an outdoor event. So I'd love to know what the basis for that one is. You know, and of course, it's not one of those things where you can go, okay, well, we'll fight it in 2 days. You know, let me go get a hold of the JAG officer or something like that, or go talk to the commanding general. It's like, well, no, the graduation's today. Jennifer Lax, I was in a Walmart today. There were a lot of empty shelves. I was at our Walmart over the weekend. The shelves were your typical front stocked. The grocery store, though, was A, busy, and B, very picked over. I think I told you guys the only thing in the way of lunch meat on the shelves was bologna. That was it. No turkey, no ham, no salami, no nothing. Bologna. That was all that was there. Greg McDonald, is our military being used to fight a major war while the leftists think they can take over? Well, the problem that we've got right now is, and there was an article that came out on this today, is the military is more concerned right now in being woke than they are being prepared. And I mean, you know, when all the orders coming down the pipeline are, you know, oh, gee, somebody's feelings and LGBTQ crap and grooming standards and all this sort of stuff, you know, rather than, gee, how do you fire an M16? Gee, how do you, you know, throw a grenade, whatever it would be, you know, training on, you know, weapon systems or whatever it is, you know, when we're having more training on critical race theory than we are on manning an anti-aircraft gun, you know, that's the problem we got right now. They're more worried about being woke than being a military. Linda Friesen, would it possibly be a medical discharge, not dishonorable? See, that's what I thought it might be if they went with anything, is they'd give them medical, you know, because it's a medical procedure. But, you know, and again, I'm not seeing, I wasn't there. So, you know, if they've told this kid that it's going to be a dishonorable, sure, it may be a threat by a drill sergeant. That's always possible. You know, because trust me, when you go into basic training, there's a lot of people that want to quit, and everybody thinks about it on the very first night you're there, going, holy crap, what the hell did I just get myself into? You know, and then, you know, we had guys in my company that, you know, we had one guy fake being gay and they booted him, you know. Granted, this was in the 80s, but, you know, there were probably half a dozen guys from my company that for one reason or another either volunteered to get kicked out, you know, did something stupid, or were just completely not worthy of being a soldier. Rip Girl Readiness, you should clarify, take your chances. I think I've clarified it about 6 times now. Let's see. Angry Prepper went over. Yeah, I saw this video. Blessed trimmability. Angry Prepper went over the regulation for the unvaxxed New York City. Do you think other cities will follow? I watched that video this afternoon, and I mean, that was just freaking insane. It literally, if you haven't seen it, he went through a list of all the places where effective today you're not allowed to go. And, you know, he brought up the one point of, it says you can't go into a fast food restaurant if they have indoor seating. But then in the next part, it said you can go into a fast food restaurant to order. You know, so, you know, it contradicted themselves. I mean, de Blasio's a Democrat. Contradiction is their MO. The one that scared the crap out of me that I heard, though, was when he said you can't go into a grocery store if they serve food to be eaten on the premise. Okay, now I'm not talking about, you know, you get your deli sandwich or whatever it is, but, you know, most grocery stores, even the ones out by me, all of them except for one, have, you know, a little deli section or whatever it is where you can go get some fried chicken, or, you know, it almost looks like a tiny little cafeteria. And, you know, you can go either maybe 6 tables in there or whatever, but that's enough to say you can't go in those grocery stores. Now, this is New York City, okay? I got to think that every one of the grocery stores in New York City has something that you can eat in it. So, I mean, if they're saying you can't go into grocery stores, you're going to have a freaking panic fast, okay? You know, which, oof, don't, you know, I noticed before, you know, a few of you guys were talking about store shelves and the price of food and everything like that. You know, here it's been pouring rain for us for the last 2 days. I don't know if this is Fred or anything like that. P31 Mama, again, thank you for the super chat again. Let me answer your question. Ideas for where to put all my preps. Small house. Hubby is calling me the prepper stacker. I just did a video. Was it on this channel or was it on Pinball Prepping? Hang on. Bear with me. It's on Pinball Prepping. It's on my other channel. If you go in the description down here, there's a link to that channel. It's called Space, the Final Frontier. I just did it yesterday, I believe it was. And it talks about how to store stuff, interesting places you didn't think about doing it. So go look at that. That will probably answer most of your questions. But so what I was saying is, you know, it's been pouring rain here for the last couple of days, and so obviously I can't do anything outside. So I figured this was a good time to build those shelves like I talked about in that particular video. Got that done, and so I was going through our freezers, because I think I told you guys, me and Mrs. P got a side of beef, half a cow, that we're going to get around Labor Day. And I wanted to make sure we had enough room in the freezers. So I went upstairs and kind of rotated what was in the freezers. You know, we take stuff out, and, you know, you forget about what's in freezers. And it's funny, when we were at the grocery store over the weekend, I said to her, should I get a bag of chicken? And mind you, as when we get a bag of chicken here, so, because somebody asked what thighs were, this is going to drive you nuts because you were paying $2.19. I can get a 10-pound bag of leg quarters. Okay, so legs and thighs, 10-pound bag for $5.99. Okay, so 59 cents a pound. Occasionally they're on sale for $3.99. Okay, so I thought we had a couple of bags. So I go upstairs today, I go look through what we got. Oh, we've got 70 pounds of chicken upstairs. Oh, we have 50 pounds of pork loin upstairs. I'm like, okay, we don't need to buy any meat for a while because we get this half a cow. And I said, we're going to have 400 pounds of meat in the house. We're fine. So it's just like, yeah, make sure you do your inventory on your stuff occasionally, especially with freezers, because you kind of forget what you have. I thought we had 20 pounds of chicken. We had 70. Okay. It's like crap, you know, because that's the thing. You buy it, it's like, oh, it's on sale. You buy it, you put it away, you put it away, you put it away. You go grab one bag of chicken around here, lasts a couple of weeks. You know, it's like, all right, go grab another one. It's like, oh, I've grabbed a couple out, haven't bought any in a couple of months. I'll go get another one. You throw it in there. It's like, didn't think about it. So, yeah, it's all frozen. It's all good. So I'm fine. All right. So it was just a little side tube, but on what we were talking about there. SM, he won't get a dishonorable discharge if he's still in boot camp. That I unless the rules have changed, the guy I described there in in my unit when I was going through it, good old Fort Lost in the Woods, did get a dishonorable discharge. So yeah, you can get a dishonorable in boot camp. Unless, I mean, at least you could in the 80s. I don't know if things have changed again. So, Brenda Valentine Bates, what is the average acreage cost in the area you are looking? Okay, so I'm not looking, so are you asking me what the average acreage costs in my area, or is that for a question for somebody else? The average acreage cost in my area varies widely, okay? I mean, you can get it anywhere from about 10,000 an acre to, I mean, I'm just thinking about directly around me, about 10,000 an acre up to 100,000 an acre, depending on, slope, if it's on the lake, if it's off the lake, whatever it would be. Daily Prepper, how did I prepare today? Did my freezer. that was my deal today. John in the Spirit, have I tried food grade diatomaceous earth? It's a fantastic detox and removes heavy metals. Strongly recommended as a staple. Yes, diatomaceous earth is also great for your garden. That is where I use it. Nunzio, can you tell me, was that water purifier called a Stewart, and was it Walmart that is a Life Straw? Okay, that's what you're looking for is a Life Straw. So, and it was Walmart. Broke Stacker, do I watch the Prepared Homestead? I probably catch every other one of Travis's videos. Sometimes I just get too busy, sometimes not, but I like watching Travis. He has a good take on some of the stuff, and the fact that he's coming out of the Ozarks, which, as he was saying, I think it was in a video yesterday, it seems like everybody and their mother is moving to the Ozarks. So Travis does good work. I like Travis. Okay. South Colorado Stetter, squirrels are stealing my tomatoes. How can I stop them? Okay, well, I've got the slightly different problem. I had the birds, okay? And I've mentioned this a couple of times. The way you stop them is feed them, okay? And you almost have to train them. Get yourself a big flat plate or something like this, or bowl or whatever. Put a bunch of sunflower seeds in there. Like any other animal, they're going to go for what is easiest to get. And it's a lot easier for a squirrel to pack his cheeks with sunflower seeds or corn or something like that, deer corn, and go put it in his burrow than it is for them to try to maneuver a tomato. So they will take the sunflower seeds. You can train them real quick. Now, the bird issue, which I had, was because it'd been so dry here when I went out picking tomatoes yesterday morning. I had a couple of tomatoes that had peck holes in it. That was my fault. That's birds going looking for something to drink because it was so dry, and I did not have my bowls of water out for the birds, and so they were looking for something to drink, and that's when they go after the tomatoes. But yeah, the way that you keep the critters out of your garden is give them something that's easier for them to get to. If you can feed them and water them, they'll leave your garden alone. Okay, and yeah, I know it gets. Trust me, I don't even want to. I'd laugh at Mrs. P. And it's like, okay, another 40-pound bag of sunflower seeds to feed all the squirrels and the chipmunks. And she's like, but I like watching them. I'm like, okay, they stay out of my garden, so that's good. Heroic Prepper, hey Pint, thank you for the super chat. And it just flew right past me, so I'm gonna have to try it this way. Canon crew member 13 Bravo here. Served in Afghanistan for a year. It's a shame what's going on. Feel almost a waste. It's a shame and terrible. Yeah, $2 trillion, 2,400 and some odd people killed for nothing. Thanks, Joe. But thank you for your service. Thank you for putting your life on the line for everybody there while you were over in country. Okay. Let's see, where are we? I'm going to go on from that one. Janice Kirk, my home security is so good, I locked myself out of my house today. There you go. I will give you. I'll give you. This is embarrassing, but I will give you a story. This goes back to when the hell was it? This had to be the maybe 96, something like that. I was with my first wife, and we hadn't even got married yet. And I had a little too much to drink that night. And so I had gone to bed. And like most people, you don't wear much when you go to bed. Somehow in the middle of the night, I decided to go sleepwalking. And I went outside our apartment and locked myself outside the apartment in the middle of winter. Yes. There you go. So there's your funny moment for pinball today. David Williams, more government control with the new variant. I still say that, I've said for a long time that we're going to see a lockdown somewhere around Labor Day, and give or take a couple of weeks. Well, we're now in that window. So yeah, again, they're going to have to come up with some reason to cover all the debacles that are going on right now. If you saw New Zealand today, guys, okay, if anybody caught this news, New Zealand went into a 3-day complete lockdown today because they had their first case of COVID in 170 days in the entire country. So they got to lock it down for 3 days. What's 3 days? It takes 2 weeks to get over this thing. Don't ask me. It's a control thing. And if things start getting out of control for Joe with all his screw ups, they're going to try to silence it. If there start being a whole lot of protests, like all the Afghanis in front of the White House, they're going to use that as an excuse to lock us down so they can't protest. That's what will happen. Lockdowns are going to be weaponized against the people. That's my guess. Okay, looking. Wilderness woman, CNN even bailed on him. This is bad for his administration as a whole. Oh yeah, there's no other way to put it. This is Joe's Saigon moment. This is as take Saigon or take Iran in, what was it, 78, 70, yeah, about 79. So it was 79, yeah, because Reagan got him out in 80. That's what this is. It's a freaking disaster. And there's still, 8 to 10,000 Americans still over there? Now, the Taliban, of course, says, they're not going to harm anybody, whatever it is. Okay, I believe them as far as I can throw them. But they've also said that they've got checkpoints all around the airport, and the only people that are coming through the checkpoint are the people with diplomatic passes to leave. Okay, so, like Mrs. P said, well, what if you were a diplomat and I was your wife? I'm like, I don't know if you have a diplomatic pass or not. My interpreter? Probably not. So how's that going to work? Let it snow. Please start a company finding good jobs for non-vaxxers. Yeah. A little harder than you think. Layla Vaughn, do you think it's going to happen now if terrorists attack? What do I think is going to happen? If terrorists attacked, again, lockdown, whole 9 yards, would it put the country back together? The country actually did come together for a while after 9/11, okay? And then completely fell apart again with the weapons of mass destruction lie. But, God, please, let's not have another 9/11. Tennessee Tactical. I got myself out of the suburbs, sold the house, and moved to rural South Tennessee. I feel so much more relaxed. You and me both, brother. Gray Sky Preps. Butternut squash. More butter or more nut? Neither. Put more butter in it. Let's see. Ace Maduro, doesn't CNN stand for the Cartoon Nutty Network or the Clinton News Network or the Communist News Network? Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff, but it certainly ain't anything that's good. Okay, we're going to shoot again. There we go. Back, scroll. Oops, I saw something in there. John Doe, thank you for the super chat. China dispatches warships to Taiwan. Gateway Pundit. Yeah, that was what I was talking about a little bit earlier. They're starting to rattle the sabers around a little bit. That's why we've got submarines heading that way. Let's see. Penny Burgess, do I watch Pastor Joe? It's Viking Preparedness, not Doomsday Prepper. Yes, I do watch him occasionally. I'm not on his Patreon channel. Y'all know my theories on Patreon, or not my theories, but my feelings on Patreon. But yes, I know Pastor Joe. He puts out a video on YouTube about once a week. I pay attention to what's going on with him. Smart man. Chicken Prepper, with my military experience, am I worried about the Afghans coming to the U.S.? Absolutely, okay? Because like I said in my video this morning, how difficult is it for one or two radicalized people to come over here? And, we've seen, like I said, one or two people. Well, two people is the Tsarnaev brothers in the Boston Marathon. It doesn't take much. One person is the Murrah building and, Timothy McVeigh. Well, actually, there were two people involved in that, too. It doesn't take much. They're not going to start a total war. It's not going to be another 9/11 with one or two people. But I think there was enough damage done with those two events, okay? The shooter down at Fort Hood years back, the shooter in California a couple of years ago. Everybody's, again, it's the NIMBY principle, not in my backyard. Everybody's like, oh, it won't happen to me. It won't happen to me. When one of these guys comes in, we can't vet all these people. There's no way. Okay. How are you going to vet 200,000 people in any sort of timely manner? You can't do it. All right. And everybody's going, oh, but it's not a big deal. They only got one or two people or something like that. Until that one or two people is your brother, your sister, your spouse, your kid, your parent, whatever it would be, then it's a big deal, okay? And somebody is going to be that grieving family member. Yeah, I worry all the time about all the illegals coming through. I can't think of the logic that is in these jackasses in Washington having open borders. Hell no. I've told you guys many times what we had to go through to get Mrs. P here, okay? She had to go through a background check. I had to go through a background check. I kid you not, stack of paper that was at least this thick we had to present. Copies of emails and pictures together, and just tons and tons and tons of stuff. I had to sign documentation that she's not eligible for any sort of social programs. I think it was for 5 years. No matter what happened to us, I was still responsible financially for all this sort of stuff. Okay. Then, of course, it was all the crap to go through to get her green card first, then to get her citizenship. It took us 5 years to get her citizenship. She got her citizenship last summer. And I think all this stuff that we had to do for one person to come over here, but yet we can let 250,000 people come in and go, what's your name? Jose. Okay, there you go. And that's it. Where's the amount of vetting that we had to go through for Mrs. P was unbelievable. But we wound up going through everything. And the cost, okay? A few $1,000s by the fees that you got to pay the government to do all this sort of stuff. So we did it. And these guys who come across the border right now, it's like, no, hey, go on in, oh, but by the way, stop over at this place so they can give you your, your food stamps and your Section 8 housing and, your education vouchers. And, while we're at it, we'll give you a phone and a computer too. So, yeah, it's, sorry. Greg McDonald, according to my wife, coworkers who've gotten the jab, as well as some patients who did, are the ones getting sick, and Joe Biden is saying unvaccinated are making everyone sick. Why? Just proves the jab is worthless. Greg Abbott announced today, Governor of Texas, has got COVID, fully jabbed. Okay, yeah. I can't talk too much about that because, of course, we know the rules around here. So. Katrina Walker, hey Pinball, in one of your recent videos, you showed us a bit of your prep room. My question is, what are your prep goals regarding food? I'm prepping for 5 years. Curious about your goals. Okay. Minimum of 1 year. My goal is 2. Okay. Chicken Prepper, thank you for the super chat there. I will get to your question in just a second. 5 years is a little ambitious, depending on how many people you have, okay? Because, and I'll just go into weight of food. The average person in the United States eats 2,000 pounds of food per year. There's 2 of us, me and Mrs. P, plus the dogs, okay? And we count the dogs as 1 more person. So that's 3,000 pounds of food I need per year for 1 year. If you had the same family size, that means you need 15,000 pounds of food, 7.5 tons of food to get you through 5 years, okay? Now, that's an awful lot of space to store all the stuff, and that's going to be hell on earth to sit there and rotate. The plan that I would have, and again, I don't know your situation, okay? But what I would say is, figure out a way where you can be replenishing your food. That's kind of our idea. It's why we've got all the gardens and everything like that. Yes, I can be eating the food I have stocked while the gardens, it's winter, or while the gardens are growing. So when the gardens are growing, I can be putting that food back as I'm still eating the stuff, and I'm always replenishing my food that way. Because no matter what happens, if you stock 5 years worth of food, okay, on January 1st of year 6, you don't have any food. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you stock 10 years of food, okay? Eventually you're going to run out. You have to figure out how to replenish that food. And whether it's gardening, whether it's foraging, whether it's raising animals, whether it's fishing, hunting, whatever it would be, you've got to do a lot of most, if not all of those to be successful because we don't know how long an SHTF event lasts. It could last a year. It could last 5. It could be like, the Korean War or something like that. It could be 20. You don't know. I mean, that's the thing. And, there are no rules to prepping. So, but my personal thought is have enough to get me through a growing season, an entire year, so I can get to another growing season, so I can keep rotating my stock. And then, of course, now once we got to a year, now I'm trying to get to 2, and we're going to be pretty close to getting to 2 once I got 400 pounds of beef show up. Okay, and I got to find this. Somebody just sent me that. I'm going to lose this here. Crap. Sorry, guys. I don't want to. There is Chicken Prepper. I've been sowing and planting tomatoes, and I'm not barriering anything. Could you tell me what I'm doing wrong? What do you mean by burying or barriering anything? I mean, you should stake your tomatoes or put a cage on them or something like that. You don't have to, but you're going to have a lot more problems with bugs or anything like that if your tomatoes are all laying on the ground. If burying, if you mean by not putting a cage on it or something like that, yeah, you need to have at least them tied to a stake so they can grow up. Tomatoes will grow vertically. So, but if you're planting tomatoes now, you're way too late in the season. You're at harvest time for tomatoes at this point. All right. I'm gonna try to find. Lisa Brooks, China would love to be friends with the Taliban. Yeah, they've already said in public relations that they're willing to work with the Taliban. That tells you how much, what kind of relationship we should have with Taiwan. It should not be, hey, let's buy everything from you. It should be like, you're persona non grata. We want nothing to do with you. But, politicians don't make any money that way. And we all know, China has Joe in their back pocket. Daily Prepper, lockdowns are the new weapon of the left. Exactly. Okay. Healthy disrespect for authority. Do I think they'll start denying new Social Security applicants that are unjabbed? That would be a massive uproar by about everybody real fast. Because if it happened to you, that tells me it's going to happen to me. Okay. So at that point, you have anybody in the country who is working is going to start screaming. The hell you mean you're going to take the money out of my paycheck and I'm not getting it back later? I mean, the thing to remember about Social Security is that's our money. That's not handout money. That's them giving us our money back, okay? And they count on the fact that you die before they've given you back as much as you put in, okay? That's the Ponzi scheme here, My daughter's putting money in so they can pay me because back in the 70s, they decided to change it and put all the money in the general fund so the Democrats could spend it. That's why Social Security's broke. Monashi prepping. What do I think about the upcoming Canadian federal election? Do you think we'll get rid of this turd hole finally? I hope so. I mean, it's between Macron and Trudeau, who are trying to see who can be little Napoleon faster. Who can turn their countries into, complete disaster faster. And I'm hoping that the Canadian population sends a message around the world. And they just destroy Trudeau and he loses 3-1 in a vote or something like that. And so the whole world sees, no, we're getting rid of these liberal pansy asses and putting together a true conservative. I don't know who is running against it. If I remember correctly about Canadian elections, you guys have everybody and their mother in the damn thing. I hope there is a solid candidate to run against him who actually has a chance of winning, and it's not just a bunch of fringe people out there. But I hope you do get rid of them, because I can't think the Canadian population, the majority of the Canadian population, thinks what he's doing is good. Especially some of this crap that's coming out. I mean, he just said that Canada wants to take in, 80,000 Afghani refugees. We saw that whole thing a couple of months ago about stopping all voting. Just communist decision after communist decision comes out of him. Elizabeth Nelson, 2 of my dear friends from church are in the hospital after getting the jab. They're elderly and getting worse. My heart is broken, praying for God's intervention. Yes, prayers for them. And thank you for sharing that. Yes, I think we can all say a prayer for anybody who's got sick from this damn thing. And say a prayer for all of them. Wilderness woman, my niece informed me today, jab or job. Funny, she works from home. What difference does it make? That stuff drives me insane. Okay, if you don't have any, because I work from home, you guys all know that, all right? And if my boss ever said to me, jab or job, I'd be like, see ya, gone, that'd be it. I go work for another company. I've worked from home for years, for many a different client. But if you work from home, what's the freaking difference? Who cares? If you don't have any contact with other people, great. I worry if something happens, I'm going to give it to Mrs. P. Just like if I got the flu, okay? If I get sick, guess what? I don't go into the office. I stay home, stay in bed, drink my chicken soup, and drink my orange juice until I get better, and then I go back to work, okay? If I work from home, I haven't taken a sick day in years. Why? Because I work from home. If I'm sick, I can still work from home. I'm not worried about getting somebody else sick. That's See, that company right there doesn't deserve to have her as an employee because that company is run by a bunch of sheep. She'll never get anywhere with that company. Bug Dude 53, Pinball, do you think they'll try something on the 20th anniversary of 9/11? We're always on heightened alert for it. I mean, we heard the same thing the 5th anniversary, the 10th anniversary, every year. The 20th anniversary, it's just a number. The only thing that I found kind of interesting is the Taliban came out today and said that U.S. troops have until September 11th to get out of Afghanistan. Didn't say or what, but that was just kind of the ultimatum they put down. So, yeah, that was it. But who knows? One more. Let's see. Let's see what I found. Derek Gardner, Pinball, will you sponsor Canadians to come and live in your state? Unfortunately, people can't do that. The only way I could sponsor Mrs. P is if we were on a K-1 visa, and that meant I was marrying her. And Derek, no offense, A, polygamy's against the law in Tennessee, and B, you ain't my type. So, sorry. All right, y'all. 9 o'clock. Have a great Tuesday. Great seeing y'all. We'll talk to you in the morning. Have a good one. Pinball out.